Hello, everyone, and welcome to LDM Radio Sports Talk, the sports show that talks about sports and other topics relatable to sports fans. My name is Alfonso Caldero, and joining me this week is Dennis Herrera.
What's going on? What's going on? What's up, Fonzie?
All right. And we are ready to rock and roll. So, luckily, Dennis is here because he is our basketball aficionado, and we are going to start with the NBA. So, we have our newly crowned 2020 NBA champions, the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah! Congratulations to them in the city of LA, who finally has something to cheer for.
Little known fact, I don't know if you know this, but the Lakers have started every decade since 2000. 2000 they won, 2010 and 2020 they've won every beginning of the decade.
Yeah. So
Nuts.
that is the first time they've won since 2010. So it's definitely right on cue there. And they beat the Miami Heat in 6 games. So did you watch the finals? What were your thoughts on it?
I actually did watch the finals. I know a lot of people that didn't watch the finals because they're just turned off by the whole NBA.
Yeah.
You know, they feel like everybody's being an extra diva. More than usual. But yeah, no, the NBA Finals was actually very fun and competitive. I feel like Jimmy Butler carried the Heat extremely well throughout the whole entire playoffs, and even more so in the finals. Like, he really took over, and it was nice to see Jimmy Butler come into that superstardom.
Yeah, he's definitely a winner. We highlighted on the last show that he's been on 4 different teams the last 4 years, and the previous 3 teams that he was on is the last time they've been in the playoffs. So he's just a winner.
Yeah, he brings that team to the next level, that competitive spirit.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Lakers and so what you see over there other than their video game roster. What led them to the win?
Listen, this I felt like LeBron had to win this for Kobe. You know, we lost Kobe at the beginning of the year, and the NBA started even amid all of the tension. You know, because they wanted to not do it for the racial tension. They wanted to cancel the season altogether.
Yeah, that was a little crazy how that all worked out, and then they ended up winning. So it was luckily that they ended up playing.
Yeah, so you know, you gotta give it to the Lakers. They definitely earned the championship. It didn't come so easily as I would have even thought. I don't think anybody thought the Heat were gonna take them 6 games.
Yeah.
So for them to do that was actually impressive. But, you know, we all knew that kind of like they went in there as the favorite. And, you know, LeBron is LeBron. And LeBron puts himself around the people that are going to help him achieve his goal of becoming a champion.
Yeah, so LeBron James he has 4 championships, and he's been to the finals 10 times.
So he's shooting 40% from the free throw.
Yeah, 40%. So let's talk a little bit about what's the burning question in most social media networks, and it goes, who's better, Michael Jordan or LeBron James? So what is your take on that?
It's different basketball talk, and you know it's also a little. I feel like it's more than Jordan versus LeBron. I feel like people forget what Kobe really did for the Lakers, and it's like you can't have a Jordan versus LeBron conversation without having a Jordan versus Kobe conversation, and then a Kobe versus LeBron conversation.
So he's saying like a knockout round?
Yeah,
Like
kind of. Like, you know, at the end of the day, man, Kobe put up some crazy numbers. He's got championships galore, MVP galore, all-star appearances. He's up there with all of them.
Yeah.
So it's hard to have that conversation without adding his name to it.
I'd have to agree. One thing, when it comes to Kobe Bryant, I always thought that he was just a product of playing with Shaquille O'Neal. And then when he won that title with Pau Gasol, I'm like, okay, well, Kobe has definitely arrived at this point.
Listen, Kobe
Yeah.
was Kobe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So.
But I would go definitely, if I had to pick between Jordan and LeBron, I'm going to say Jordan because Jordan's my era. It's like,
Right.
you know what I mean? I feel like that's my generation superstar. So, you know, it's kind of difficult for me to admit that the Gen X kids, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
have a better superstar than mine did.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think there's a couple of factors to consider here. A lot of it is like who you grew up watching. So it's like, oh yeah, like I would never go against Jordan because that's all you knew growing up. That's how you pretty much got into basketball, learned it all around Jordan.
Yeah,
So
it wouldn't be like Mike.
yeah, for the older folks, I'm sure it's a little different. But there's also in LeBron's defense, you have the athletes that are bigger and stronger to compete with than maybe what Jordan had to deal with. But then
But
again,
remember, he is also bigger and stronger than Jordan was.
yeah,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
So,
He's kind of like a smaller version of Shaq as far as like
he's
his
built.
overall size compared to like everybody else in the field for his actual ability.
I mean, he's like 6'8", 290.
Yeah, he's like if he was a point guard, he'd be like a Shaquille O'Neal point guard. Like
Correct. He's a linebacker.
he plays all five positions. There's not many basketball players that could say they could effectively play all five positions.
Correct.
But with there's also the fact that there was a lot more physicality in the '90s basketball and what Jordan had to go through. Like when you threw a layup in the hole, when you went up for a dunk or you went up for continuous layups, like you'd have to pay a penalty for it. Like you had guys like Oakley and Mason and Alonzo Mourning and all these other guys
The
who,
Pistons.
yeah,
Listen,
the Pistons, yeah, the Pistons. They had like what 7 guys that could like knock you down. It was
literally
crazy.
everybody. Could
Yeah, it was a Bill Laimbeer and Dennis Rodman the first time. But so how do you compare the two and just in general, how do you compare different eras to different times? That's one thing I think that gets really lost in sports debates is people don't put into perspective, the field.
Well, first of all, LeBron would never have made it during '90s basketball. Like you see him do these flops, and now
Yeah,
in this era of basketball, where it's like there's no hand checking,
yeah,
there's no physicality. It's much more like geared to preserving the player, whereas like before it was a show.
yeah,
Before it was like a all-out show, and it was like you're gonna give 120% or you're not gonna play. Now it's like you can give 50% and still make $25 million a year.
yeah. But in that perspective, it's just hard to really compare pound to pound for what one athlete had to do with another from the whole different field. Like you think about Wilt Chamberlain has all the records, but it was like what was he playing with, like a bunch of midgets basically compared to his size and strength. He was pretty much a cut above everybody. So the 100-point game, those are things that we're never going to see again. But he
I
just
don't know, man. James Harden be putting up 60 shots a game. At some point, he's gonna start nailing them all. Like,
yeah.
I'm telling you.
But
But it's also like what came first, the chicken or the egg. You can't
yeah,
compare it. It's
yeah,
uncomparable. Like unless they're from the same time era and they had the same X factor. You know what I mean? Because it's
yeah,
basically a calculation to say which is better, Jordan. It's like all right, maybe LeBron is better during the regular season and Jordan's the all-time great of the finals.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe it's just as simple as saying that.
I'd have to say, like, why can't there just be 2 or 3 or 10? Like why does one have to be automatically better than the other? Like, are we?
Because of the singularity.
But are we gonna totally denounce LeBron James for he
Right.
went to 10 finals, he won 4 of them. Like that's
That's
not
an
exactly
achievement. It's an
it's not
achievement.
exactly something. A
Like
lot of
not,
people
it's
downgrade
noteworthy.
him.
It's noteworthy for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Well, I feel like it's also like LeBron did something to the NBA that was never done before, and that was form these super teams.
yeah,
He created this trend, and the overall trend, it's gotten kind of boring because now every time you watch a basketball game, it's just who's gonna hit more threes. There's no real strategy to the NBA anymore. It's a point. It's a who's gonna have more points. There's no real defense. Like who are the real defensive teams? Are there really any real defensive teams left in the NBA that you can say, wow, that is a truly defensive team?
yeah.
No,
No,
not a single
yeah,
team.
yeah.
They're all who can score more.
But at right now, it seems a little more balanced than it was in past years. Like it seemed like there was just 2 or 3
Well,
teams
there was
that
some
were.
good trades that made that happen. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You kind of created other super teams to to battle the super teams.
Yeah, yeah. I think. Well, imagine if Kawhi Leonard would have signed with the Lakers. Like I mention it all the time. I mean,
They would have
forget it.
destroyed the league.
Yeah, yeah. So, and but the one thing I think from this particular Laker team was when COVID, when they decided to restart again, they made the they said if somebody wasn't returning, that they would be able to sign whoever they wanted. That's how they ended up getting Dwight Howard, wasn't it? Or was he there the whole season?
He was there the whole season.
There was somebody they picked up.
Probably Deion Waiters.
Yeah, yeah. But then
Oh, crazy thing about Deion Waiters, he was gonna win a ring regardless.
how's that?
Because if the Heat have won, he had played enough games with the Heat to have qualified for a ring with the Heat. So he was due a ring regardless of who won. How crazy is
that is amazing. That's definitely
bastard.
a first. But yeah, because then Avery Bradley ended up not returning, so that opened up the door for them to do that. But as far as the Jordan LeBron thing, I don't think it's really worth one being better than the other. I think that's just something where somebody just tries to knock down LeBron James for all his
It's not a
achievements.
fun debate
Yeah.
anymore. It's kind of it's played out. All right, we get it.
Yeah.
The LeBron people love LeBron. The
Yeah.
Jordan people love Jordan.
I mean, Jordan didn't have to deal with power forwards being able to shoot threes all over the place. You know, there was a lot of different factors. Yeah.
Imagine all those Paul Murison. Like, remember that guy?
Yeah.
Shooting threes with that awkward body that he had. Just
Crazy.
like,
And on top of the point of where the rivalry competition, like the super teams, I think a lot of it's born from playing together internationally. Like there's a lot more Olympic plays than there were in the past. I remember that in '92, the Dream Team, they ended up just coming together, and it was like such a magical thing that had really never happened before. But then it just continued to happen over the years, and that kind of not only did it kill like the rivalries, like oh my team's gonna be your team, like it kind of just built the friendships between everybody else, where they were just like, hey, why don't we play together and have some fun.
Right. We go overseas. We're gonna kick these guys' butts, or keep it moving. Win some gold
Crazy.
medals.
So who's better, LeBron or Jordan? They're both great. Who cares?
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
I accept that answer.
Yeah, is it? a lot of people hate LeBron James. It's kind of a shame too, because
I mean, I'm one of those people. I'm a Knicks fan. If you're a Knicks fan, you don't like LeBron James. I don't know a single Knicks fan who's like, you know what, LeBron James, hell of a guy.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
LeBron's a crybaby. He's a bitch. He's this. He's that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't hear him in jail. You don't hear him like sleeping around. You don't hear like any kind of real negativity. All he plays basketball.
LeBron is got some really good PR people. You know what I mean? He has the right. He's since right out of high school. He's had Nike sending him the best of the best and everything, and that includes those etiquette teachers and he has that. He knows that he's in the spotlight, and everything he does is under a microscope. That's why he's pissed off that Bronny keeps getting caught doing dumb shit on Instagram. like, yo, listen, you can't control these 15, 16-year-old kids. What are you going to do?
Especially when you're not home all the time. You're too busy winning championships.
LeBron's going to get home and take off his belt and whip LeBron Jr.'s butt. Like, not happening.
I think that's actually a product of why there's not more athletes like father son kind of like the traditions. I think that you see it. It's rare when you actually have like a son come from the dad and all that. Just because like when the dad's so famous and he has all this money, like the kids are probably more spoiled than anything else.
Right, and kind of ignored too. But it seems like
a little bit, yeah. I mean, if you're out of the house like 8 to 10 months a year, really. So we're gonna move on to we're gonna stay on basketball a little bit. We're gonna talk about the future of the local Knicks and Nets. So why don't we start with the Nets, because that seems to be the slam dunk better future.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Such an uncomfortable conversation. So the Nets obviously have a better structure. They got 2 superstars. I'm sure they're gonna add more. They just got Steve Nash as the coach, which I think was a great. You have an all-time great point guard of the league, a Hall of Fame type point guard of the league, as a coach. But they're saying because he wasn't black or whatever.
Yeah, it was there was
Remember
a
that?
Stephen A. Smith little
He went
controversy there that he
crazy.
had like white
You know,
privilege from
I
it.
don't.
Yeah,
You know,
that was a little
I
insane.
don't get this. You know what I mean? I don't. I just don't understand. I feel like black coaches in the NBA really they're prominent. Like
Yeah,
you see several teams with black. I don't think that it's a white or black thing. Like,
and many assistant coaches as well. It's not only
and then it
the
makes
head
it
guy.
double racist because it's like, damn, you're from Brooklyn. Damn, you're not getting a black coach. Like, damn,
Yeah.
you're gonna do that to us. Like, yo, what the hell? Like, I just want this all-time great point guard to teach my
Yeah.
guys how to win.
The Hall of Famer too. It's not even like he was like a slouch. Like
Right.
you look at like a Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr was just a
Random
he
guy.
was just a 3-point artist.
Yeah,
He was like a
six man off the
6,
bench.
maybe 7, 8 man. You know, just came in, shot some threes here and there, and then
That's
went
it.
and sat down
Right
again.
back.
Yeah. So, but I mean, Steve Nash is just like it seems like a slam dunk from a logistical point of view, aside
Right.
from the
It's a
whole
good-
race thing.
It's a good
Yeah.
signing as a coach. Yeah, you're giving a guy, you know, maybe there were more qualified coaches, but that's a fucking personal thing. Sorry, I'm dropping F bomb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm a New Yorker, I can't help myself.
But you know, like actually, one more point about the Steve Nash thing is that he's actually Canadian, so he's actually he's more in the minority than anybody else.
Right.
You know, like how many Canadian basketball players are there?
Correct. And
Not
on
many.
top of that, exactly, and he's a Hall of Famer on top of that. Like, it's weird.
Totally barked up the
But
wrong tree with that one.
I definitely see the Nets being successful immediately. Like, you know, they're
Yeah.
gonna be a 3-4, maybe 2-3-4 seed next year, with a healthy Durant and a healthy Kyrie, and I'm sure they're gonna add some more people to that team. But they have a very good nucleus. They have young players like LeVert. You know what I mean? You have Dinwiddie,
Yeah.
or Dinwiddle, or Dinwiddie.
Yeah,
Din-
Spencer Dinwiddie.
something like that.
Yeah. But the one, I mean, health is going to be definitely an issue because that's what kept them back this year. I mean, they were both under contract. Durant, they basically just signed them like, you're not
him
going
a
to play
whole
this
year.
year, but we're going to sign you anyway.
It's 35 million.
Yeah,
40
if
million.
you think about it, like production for dollar, man, he's making out pretty good.
You're right.
Yeah, but with the Nets, the one or two basketball players can definitely make a difference. I mean, I got some numbers here from the Lakers acquired Anthony Davis, who was studly all season. They went from the year before last year not having him. They were 37 and 45, and this year they finished the regular season 52 and 19. And you know, like they kind of laid a couple eggs in that 8-game return to play because they didn't really need the games.
They
Yeah.
need the wins, yeah.
But you know, like they were significantly better just with one player, and they got rid of, I mean, like 4 or 5 guys like in order to trade for him, and then he ended up being just a difference maker, just one guy. So
Listen, the one guy is if his name is Anthony Davis, that's
Yeah,
a big difference
yeah.
maker. You know, there's not so many 7-footers that can do what he does.
I think basketball is easily the number one sport, and just one player just makes a difference. You know.
Well, you got only 5 guys on your team. You know what I mean? At any given moment, you have a 20% chance of being a difference maker.
Yeah, and only 15 roster spots compared to other
Anything
teams.
else,
yeah.
right? NBA, NFL. How many guys are on a freaking NFL?
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
80 guys.
Yeah, and then who was it? Mike Trout from the Los Angeles Angels. Like he's arguably the best player in baseball and can't even get into the playoffs. You know, it's really tough.
Yeah, it's much harder. Yeah.
I guess maybe like comparably would be like the quarterback position for the NFL is possibly one, but at the same time, you know, you also need great receivers that can catch,
Right.
running game that can open up the passing game. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but
A
like
lot of factors.
one basketball player could really make a difference. So if Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving can stay healthy, which is a big if, there's a huge if, but if they can, then they're definitely, you know, top contenders next season. Just from those two players alone.
I honestly can't wait to see Kevin Durant deal with the New York media. Like,
Yeah. Hopefully there'll be
God
fans.
forbid there's a losing streak or they don't make the playoffs. Oh
Yeah.
my God. His legacy is going to go straight down the trash.
Or I mean, even another injury. Another injury would cause a
He's
lot of.
coming off of
Then
a
you
crazy
made of glass and all this other stuff. So.
We'll have to see. It's going to be interesting. I actually can't wait to see what a normal NBA season is going to look like.
Yeah,
I
right.
miss
Which,
it.
yeah, it's gonna. I mean, You'd have to assume that they're probably going to start on Christmas because they want to get, like that's
Well,
that's
that's
their
like
holiday.
that's gonna be like the preseason. I think the actual season is aiming for January.
Oh, really? Okay. I
Yeah, so
haven't.
early in the year, they want to try to get fans back in, so they're gonna wait for like some kind of vaccination, which I'm not gonna take. I'm good on that.
So, all right. So we've talked a lot of basketball today, which is great. We haven't really talked a lot of basketball on this show.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
Now we're going to get. Thank you very much. We're going to get into the MLB because we have some playoff baseball going on. We are in the Final Four. We have the number 1 seeded Tampa Bay Rays versus the number 6 seeded, barely scraped into the playoffs, Houston Astros, who advanced 2 rounds into the American League Championship Series. Right now, as it stands, they actually started Game 5 as we went on air, and the Rays are leading the series 3-1.
Nice.
Have you watched that?
Yeah, I've been watching.
Yeah.
I've been watching. I
Um,
actually predicted a Rays Braves uh, final, like a World Series. Like that was my
Braves versus who?
the Tampa Bay Rays.
Tampa Bay Rays. Oh, before the you
Yeah,
mean before the playoffs started?
like that little bracket challenge
Oh,
thing.
okay. All
That's
right.
how mine ended.
All right. Well, yeah, you're definitely in the running there. The like the Houston Astros were the only team who weren't the division winners that ended up getting into the playoffs. They barely scraped by yesterday in preventing the Rays from a sweep. So, what do you think? How long do you think this series ends
I
up
think
going?
this ends tonight. I think the Rays they're too strong. Their bullpen is too good. You know what I mean? They had their versatility. The Rays have always been such a versatile team. It's crazy how they keep that.
Yeah.
No matter who's their coach and players, even like you remember the Evan Longoria days.
Yeah,
Like, these
yeah.
guys have always had like studs on their team.
Yeah, it's just
It's
they're
just a crappy market.
yeah their scouting and drafting is just
Elite.
between them and the Oakland A's is just a cut above everybody else. Um, so what do you think? Wait. All right. So wait. No,
Are you
we're just
back?
gonna go. We're gonna go to the NL real
Are you
quick.
back?
Yeah. Um, I haven't done any of those moments since the last time you were here. I don't know. I don't know if there's some kind of coincidence
the
there, or
jinx.
maybe I'm just nervous. No. But we're gonna go to the National League. So we have the first seeded Dodgers versus the second seeded Atlanta Braves, and the Braves have a 2-1 series lead. So you really like the Braves, even though you're a Mets fan? You
Yeah,
didn't,
no,
you,
I
you,
don't
you don't
like
have the
the
hatred
Braves.
bandwagon? No,
No,
all right.
no, I don't like the Braves, but I don't like the Dodgers either.
So what made you pick them over the Dodgers?
Because they're a good team. And they have very young, good players. And listen, youth is always going to win. The Dodgers are a good team, but they're a little bit older team. They have, you know what I mean? Like they have Kershaw, who's not a awesome playoff pitcher to begin with.
Not at all.
Like they have holes in their team. You know what I mean? I feel like the Braves are, their bullpen's really nicely set up. They have a great closer. They come to win.
Yeah, the Dodgers have that burden of like the playoff chokers
Yeah.
stigma. So, and that carries over to the years. I mean, the Atlanta Braves had that in the '90s, but I mean that's there's so many players removed from that it doesn't even matter at this point. Like it's just a young, fresh team going in trying to make stuff happen. Um, what I find interesting is what the the Dodgers. Kershaw was a scratch, so it doesn't look very good for them. But then they interrupted yesterday for 11 runs in the first inning.
Yeah,
So it's
right,
like they just were like they got all mad and
They got
just let it
juiced
all
up.
out in one inning. So how many games do you see this going? Atlanta's leading the series 2-1.
Well, they'll probably go all 7. They'll probably make it to 7. I could see Atlanta winning one more and the Dodgers gutting out 2 more. But it's gonna be tough, man. I'm telling you. I just think that overall you're gonna have fresher legs with the Braves than you are with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that whoever wins from the National League is gonna get my full support because I absolutely hate the American League's Championship Series matchup, which brings me to our next topic. So for Yankee fans, since the last show, obviously they lost to the Rays, so they were bumped out. So you're basically dealing with the team that bumped you out and your division rivals that owned you in the regular season versus the Houston Astros, who's like public enemy number one for everybody except for people in Houston.
Right.
So who do you root for? Or who do you root for in that situation? Like what would be your take on it? Like if you were, let's say, the Braves versus Dodgers, but the Dodgers ended up just knocking out the Mets in like crazy fashion. Who would you go for?
I just stopped watching baseball at that point. Like, I
Yeah,
really could give
I'm
two
sure.
shits.
Sure, a lot of Yankee fans did that. Actually, it puts me in a position where I slightly want the Astros to take this series. Like it's that bad because just the hated rivalry between the Rays and the
But it would
Yankees.
also take so much heat off of the Astros. Like the Astros win right now, there's no like controversial like stomping or clapping or you know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like what's that really say about the Astros? That shows maybe they did have it what it takes.
yeah. Well, they got a tough climb now. They basically have to win 3 games in a row. If this series doesn't go very long, then you have the Rays basically just waiting for the Dodgers and the Braves. You know, they're gonna be sitting down, you know, whenever whatever central located hotel room, and they're just gonna be chilling,
Hanging out,
waiting for it to happen. So
trading.
hopefully that's a long series as it is. But I'm sure I'm in the minority with this one, just because the Rays, like they really haven't won anything ever. So it's kind of hard to hate them. It's not exactly like the Red Sox versus the
Right.
Astros. I guess would be like a more hated rivalry thing. But it's
But
like
it's more of a newer rivalry. You know what I mean? It's not as deeply rooted as Red Sox Yankees. You know what I mean?
right. But then
But
so
Rays Yankees is a rivalry now. You know, they kicked their guys' asses this year.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
it was
want to
bad.
rub it
It was
in,
bad.
but as a
Yeah,
Met fan, I don't got much.
yeah. I mean, well, the playoff series wasn't bad. The playoff series wasn't bad. The regular season, the Rays they lost. I mean, the Rays won 8 out of 10 games against the Yankees, so they completely owned them in the regular season. The playoffs was pretty much hit or miss, but then, good pitching always beats good hitting, and the Yankees are homer and strikeout, so they ended up striking out more than they homered, and that was that.
That's how the cookie crumbles.
All right, so let's bring your perspective into this one. So, if you are rooting for a team and that team knocks your team out of the playoffs, do you root for them to? Do you root for the team that beat your team to win the championship?
Yeah, why
Because
not? Sure. Like, hey,
yeah,
it's like, oh, it was so good that they beat us.
right,
You know,
right.
I guess they truly deserve it.
So you want them to win so that they're like you could say that you lost to the champions. Is
Right.
that's your theory behind that?
That's your takeaway, I guess, from that.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, hey, if you're gonna soften the blow, and they became champs.
So there's that perspective. Then there's also the perspective of you want that other team to lose just because they beat your team. So that's my side of the fence. So anytime that a team knocks out my team, regardless of the situation, I'd rather them go down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like I don't want those fans celebrating. They took away my celebration. I don't.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
take away
yeah.
theirs.
I don't want to lose to the champions. There's no consolation in that. There's
Sounds like a
for
mosh
some
pit.
yeah for some people it is. For me, it's just overall like just go down, burning. So that is our topic there. So yeah, baseball. Next week, it looks like we'll be in World Series territory.
I actually can't believe that they got a whole season. Like, even though it was 60 games or whatever, like, I really thought at the beginning of this, everything was going to get shut down.
Yeah, yeah. It was looking a little rocky there. It was looking a
Even
little
with
rocky
the
there for a
NFL
while.
now, you're catching all of these cases and stuff, and you just think about it and you go, holy crap. If you're in a fantasy league, like, my team sucks in fantasy. I'm almost hoping to cancel it. We have a
Yeah.
stipulation.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, is it a money one?
Yeah.
I can't imagine doing a money one just because.
But we have so many COVID rules, it's freaking ridiculous. We literally had to sign a document, like, agreeing to, like, all the same perimeters.
Yeah.
So we got, like, a 10-week league. Basically, we passed 10 weeks as an official league.
Oh, okay. That's really weird. Well, I don't know. It's looking pretty bleak on that end. The NFL is going through the similar issues that what baseball did, and then there's just so many more people, and they've
No bubble, also.
yeah they're
go
hell
home.
bent on traveling. I don't even know why they would even travel to different places because they should have just had 16 different venues and just switch people in and out. That would have cut everything in half because what I mean that
Less risk.
yeah
less
there's
contact.
There's a couple. I mean, in Dallas they have a couple fans going in. I think Kansas City they have a
Yeah.
couple of fans going
Even
in. But I mean,
Miami now.
yeah, is it even worth it?
Miami was cleared to have a full stadium.
Well, I think all. Yeah, I heard that
They're not
all
going
Florida
to,
teams. Yeah,
but they were cleared to.
and there's 3 teams in Florida too. There's Jacksonville. There's also Tampa Bay. So that would be.
A lot of people.
And then they ended up just winning the hockey championship, Tampa Bay Lightning. Like that's one place you do not want to have a parade at all.
Right. Yeah, Tampa Bay. I could imagine it being very scary. Though.
Yeah, it looked like it. I mean, I saw some of the videos. Like they had a little boat presentation, but there's also like people on top of people trying to get into the front, trying to get good pictures and stuff. So, yeah, but
Are we still scared of being around people?
I'd say so. I'd say so. Yeah. Just so it's just.
No!
I guess it's just the wrong place and the wrong time kind of factor still
Listen,
into
man,
play.
at this point, bro, it's like I've eaten in enough restaurants and enough. I've eaten a lot of things, man. And, I feel pretty safe.
Yeah. So I don't know. I carry hand sanitizer everywhere. I don't take any chances.
Listen. I'm not over here requesting people
Yeah.
sneeze on me, but that was pre-COVID.
Luckily, we don't have people calling in because we'll have like a bunch of sports nurses and all that ready to ream you out.
Oh, I would love that. Yo, we should have call-in feature. That should be like a thing, especially for an hour.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, totally.
You know, man, have like a segment like, yo, call in. You know what? Hang up on them.
So we'll stay on football for right now, and we have our little roundup. So it's a bit of a smaller list now because now the contenders are starting to pull away from from the pretenders. So our undefeated list has the Steelers at 4-0, the Titans at 4-0, the Seattle Seahawks at 5-0, and the Packers at 4-0. So any surprises there for you?
No, those guys are pretty damn good.
Yeah, I think. Well,
The Steelers are actually a little bit of a surprise. I thought that Ben was going to come out rockier, but you know what? The Steelers are the Steelers at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that is actually a very competitive division as well. We'll get to that in a second. So I think from this, if the Steelers and Titans didn't get postponed, we wouldn't have one of those teams would have been off the list, but that will be coming, I think, week 7 or week 8. They ended up rescheduling that game. So then we have the totally defeated teams, and now we only have 3, 2 of which are in New York. The New York Jets and the New York Giants are 0-5, and the Atlanta Falcons, which is one of the bigger jokes in the league until this past week. We had the Falcons blowing all these different types of leads, and they are 0-5.
Yikes. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, just
Atlanta is always like, they've always been a pretty good team. You know?
yeah, because you got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, you think is like, a really, really good, stable quarterback. They got Julio Jones.
Getting older.
Yeah.
And everybody's getting older.
Yeah, it's pretty bad over there. They ended up, I think they fired the coach already. So they are going through that transition while the Jets and the Giants. So the Le'Veon Bell situation, you hear about that this week?
Yeah, you got let
Yeah,
go.
they released one of the top 10 running backs of the decade, basically, and the Jets were lucky enough to have him. They didn't utilize him the right way, and they ended up releasing him. They didn't even get a 5th-round draft pick, 6th-round draft pick. It's so bad. Like, the New York Jets are
freaking embarrassing.
yeah, the Jets.
I'm sorry, I know you're a fan, but they're a dumpster fire.
Let me tell you, I love the New York Jets. I will still love the New York Jets. I am unconditionally love the New York Jets, but man, do they suck! Like they're just bad now.
And no, don't get me wrong. I'm a
Just
Giants
bad.
fan. This is literally saying like, this is turd smells, poop stinks.
Yeah,
by a
yeah, it's
turd.
just bad.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
It's just awful. I mean, the way the team was constructed, I thought that what it looked like before the Jamal Adams situation happened. I'm thinking we get through this year, we'll be, like marginal. No, marginal. I didn't think they would be like all that good. I thought 8-8 was a bit of a stretch, maybe 7-9. But then next year, they have all this rollover cap, they have all this money to spend. So I thought, we wait one more year and then we'll be like back on top. But now with the Jamal Adams situation happening, and then the Le'Veon Bell, it's just they're back to square one. Like they're just gonna be awful for even more years to come, which is very, very sad for me.
that sucks.
It's just awful. And I don't know. They just It's not easy being green. That's for sure. So then we'll go into the Giants. I mean, what's your perspective on them since you're
Just move on.
fair enough.
Giants freaking suck. You know what I mean? Jets suck. Listen, it's a you know what? There's a new race between the New York teams, and that's who's gonna end up 0-16 and get that #1 pick.
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I mean? That's the new race. Who's
Well,
biggest loser?
with the division, which we're gonna get into, we'll get into it now. So the NFC East has Dallas at 2-3, the Eagles at 1, 2, and 1.
Yeah, they like got a tie.
Yeah, and then 1, 3, and 1 as the Eagles, and then the Washington Washington football team is 1-4, and then the Giants are 0-5. So so the Giants are 0-5, and they are only 2 games out of first place.
I really hate this cancel culture crap. Like they took out the Redskins. Like, you know what? I get it. All right, it's somewhat offensive, but when it was created in 1912 or whatever the heck, whatever, what was it? The 50s, 60s? I don't know.
We had it on one show. I think they've been around for swimming around 100 years. Around there, yeah.
You know, like, let's be real. Like,
yeah. They went through all these generations.
How come they didn't change the Indians' name?
Well,
or the Braves.
The
Let's
Indians.
or the Yankees. How dare you call me a Yankee?
The Indians and the Braves, they ended up saying that they were gonna not change their name, but they were gonna educate more on the culture of why they're named the way they are. The Blackhawks too, Chicago Blackhawks was also the Indians actually they're a little more on the fence. The Braves are pretty much like, no, we're not gonna change our name, and then the Blackhawks too. But the Blackhawks don't like. It's more of a. The Blackhawks are more of a like a highlight of it from like somebody who was like really good. So it wasn't like, they're downgrading, but like the Redskins were pretty much.
Listen, I would understand if it was called the Staten Island Queers.
Yeah,
that's why you didn't want to name it that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But these are like the Washington Redskins. The football team's been around for almost 100 years. Like come on, what?
Yeah.
So I heard that now they're gonna keep that name, the Washington football team.
Nah, I think it was just too close to the beginning of the season because if they would have quickly changed the name, then they would have.
Enough time for
Yeah.
marketing.
Yeah. It's just.
But think about it. Are they gonna really have enough time now? Like.
Well, they'll do it into next season. Well, there'll be like a big presentation where they unveil the uniforms and have a bunch of players, like 3 or 4 of their best players are gonna be doing the poses and
the uniform.
Yeah, they're gonna hype it up and whatever it is. So
what are they gonna name? What do you think they're gonna name them?
I don't know. What's significant in Washington?
The Washington Correct.
Yeah, well, you got the Washington Nationals, you got the Washington Capitals, so it could be something like political, yeah, possibly.
The Washington Republicans. That's gonna go over well.
Well, then, they could be the Elephants. There aren't they? The Elephants, a political campaign.
Right.
That's gonna offend somebody else too. It's gonna be great. They should definitely do that. Yeah. So, then we have so we've gotten through the very best and the very worst. So we also have the elite teams, the ones that are kind of swimming above water. The Bills are 4-1, which I think is pretty surprising.
They're doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Diggs is doing well. Allen has been really a stud.
Yeah,
they're freaking good.
They took that one super L on Tuesday, which was great.
Yeah.
That was great for me anyway. But they're definitely really good. Well, the Bills have become my new Patriots because the Patriots are kind of they're 2-2. They got Cam Newton now. Cam Newton has something to prove. Actually, I would say I don't really hate the Patriots as much as I used to. They're kind of like underdogs now, like you know.
Rooting for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say root for them, but I wouldn't.
Coming off of COVID.
Yeah.
He's ready to just beast on it. He probably coming more brolic. COVID probably gave him a boost.
So the AFC North is actually the strongest division of football. They have the Steelers at 4-0. They have the Baltimore Ravens at 4-1, and the Cleveland Browns at 4-1.
Jeez, man.
Cleveland Browns.
I knew they would come around. They have talent.
Yeah.
The team has talent.
Well, when you have enough first round picks, you would expect them to actually be a lot better.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah. So then we have the Titans. Then we also have the Kansas City Chiefs at 4-1. They took a surprising loss last week, or surprising to some, to the Oakland Raiders. I mean, sorry, the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah, that was so last year.
Yeah, it's such a weird transition.
Yeah, totally. So then we have the NFC
Weren't they
North.
the LA Raiders?
Yeah, they skipped around. Like they
Little
have
horse,
no
little
loyalty
NFL
for
horse.
that's got to be like the most legendary franchise that has moved the most, like easily. They were L.A. and then Oakland and then back to L.A. and then Oakland and then
Yeah,
they
Vegas.
yeah, now they're in Vegas. So
Can't wait till they're the
it's just
Wichita
weird for
Raiders.
yeah, because you think about it, like you, the the trademark real like transcendent franchises. The Raiders are one of them. You know that
Right.
you have the New York Yankees, you have the Boston Red Sox, Chicago Cubs,
Steelers.
the Steelers. Yeah, you have all these other big names, and then nobody's ever moved, but the Raiders are always moved all over the place. It's so crazy. So then we have the NFC North, the Packers 4-0. Then we have the Chicago Bears at 4-1.
That's a shocker. I'm actually surprised that the Bears are 4-1.
Yeah,
They shouldn't
I'd
be
have
good,
to agree.
'cause
Well,
Trubisky sucks.
yeah.
Montgomery's
Yeah.
garbage. He gives you no fantasy points. I make all my judgments based on fantasy now.
So yeah, but I mean, you don't get defense. You don't get the Khalil Mack. He's a beastly fellow there.
Yeah, he is.
So then you have the Seattle Seahawks 4-1, and then the LA Rams at 4-1.
Is everyone 4-1 this year? Like, how
Nah,
is
well,
there-
yeah,
there's a lot of 4-1 teams.
it's just the good teams are really good and the bad teams are really bad. That is what we're learning at this point. And then with other interdivisional rivals and like that, I don't think there's gonna be a lot of situations where they knock out each other. Like they're gonna knock out each other. It's gonna be probably like 3 or 4 14-2 teams at least this season because the good teams are good and the bad teams are really bad. So as far as marginal teams, we got the Patriots at 2-2, the Colts at 3-2. They had Phillip Rivers, who's doing pretty well over there. The aforementioned Las Vegas Raiders at 3-2, and then the tightest division of all of them is the NFC South. We have the Saints, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who a lot of people thought we would mention them earlier, but we have not because they're the Tampa Bay Bucks and they're doing what they do. And the Carolina Panthers, everybody's 3-2.
It's not bad.
Crazy.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, I'd have to say the Panthers are very surprising without having Cam Newton. Pretty big factor. And then the Arizona Cardinals are 3-2. That's not something you hear every day.
I feel like everyone has a good season, but the Giants and the Jets.
Yeah, and well, it's just there's a lot of bad teams.
All the L's.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad teams.
NFL.
Yeah, it's just it's gonna be one of those years. You're gonna have a lot of 10-loss teams.
It's gonna be a 14, 15,
No, yeah,
16
for
loss
New York. Well, you got the people who like the one real New York team, Buffalo. So they're actually really.
Listen, I would never ever rep Buffalo. As New York. I would never do that.
Well, you think about it. The licenses are the same.
Yeah,
like,
they are actually in New York.
And
but-
then
but not happening.
the Jets and Giants actually play in New Jersey, so they don't even really play in New York. But they are the most New York team.
I'm gonna blame New Jersey for the fact that they're 0 and whatever, because it's like
Okay.
something about that water, man.
So is the swamp smell? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
it's swampy up in there.
So we're just we got a couple minutes left in the show. We're gonna cover a little bit of hockey. So, how much hockey do you follow? A lot of hockey?
Absolutely none.
All right. So we're gonna catch up. So this is the year of the goalie carousel. So you have your starting goalies in each team. So a lot of different like familiar faces in new places.
Yeah.
This
Well,
is
I know Lundqvist was moved to the Capitals.
yes. So the
Yes.
long very
So Lundqvist
long.
and Ovechkin together.
Yep. The former adversaries now they're joining forces on some LeBron James kind of story there. So
Joining forces.
so the Henrik Lundqvist, longtime New York Ranger, ends up playing. He's going to be playing for the Washington Capitals, and a part of why that happened is the split in playing time. You know, he's not gonna be starting 60 games. I think it's gonna be like a 35-65 split, depending on how everything goes over there.
And that's George Oregon.
No, that was actually the Washington Capitals. They have Samsonov. He's gonna be he's a like a young up and comer. The former starter for the Washington Capitals is next on the list. Brandon Holtby, was Stanley Cup winning goaltender. He decided, you know, he wanted more money than the Capitals were willing to give him, so he's now on the Vancouver Canucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so they signed him off free agency. Or?
Yep. The free agency opened up last Friday, and that's where all these moves started to take place. So the old starter for the Vancouver Canucks, Jacob Markstrom, he is now on the Calgary Flames. So it's a whole like domino effect. Like one, they got bumped out, and then then they go somewhere else. So the former starter for the Calgary Flames, Cam Talbot, who was a former Ranger, he is now on the Minnesota Wild.
And the Minnesota Wild guy is now on the
San Jose Sharks. Yep. Devin Dubnyk. That was actually a trade that happened before the free agency opened up. So
they freed up space.
They freed up space. Yep. And then they ended up. So basically, what these
situations. What's that game? Chairs.
Yep. Musical chairs. Yep. So, but what you saw here from the Lundqvist and Holtby factor is basically they decided to get cheaper options than what they had. So the Vancouver Canucks they couldn't sign Markstrom for what he wanted. He ended up getting 6 years, $36 million from the Flames. They weren't able to give him that much, so they signed Holtby for like $4 million. You know,
so I want to know, when is the gay community going to be upset about the Calgary Flames? Like that's is that the next thing?
I don't know.
Well, the next uproar.
Well, maybe if it was like the Flamers, then it would be a problem. But I don't know. Yeah, you know, that's a good point. I don't know. Maybe people in Canada, they don't really care. They're like, well,
they don't have
they stupid Americans worried about the team names and all that.
Yeah, they care about names.
So, and then in local news, we have three-time Stanley Cup winning champion goaltender Corey Crawford, who used to play for the Blackhawks. He now plays for the New Jersey Devils. Okay. And Corey Schneider, who was a Devil, who ended up getting bought out, is now a New York Islander. Yeah, which is
so he kept local. He stayed within the tri-state area.
Yep. He's it's just like that move is not like those two moves aren't like super impactful. Especially the Schneider one, because they already have like two stud goaltenders. They have Varlamov, who had a really killer playoffs, and then they have the Russian export Shirokin, who's going to be on his way. So I guess they're kind of like just, you know, a little stopgap insurance situation. And then former Islander goaltender Thomas Greiss is now on the Detroit Red Wings.
That's a lot of names.
Yeah, so a lot of familiar faces in new places, and it's just it was just weird how like one took one spot and then it just led to a domino effect of everything else.
Moving around.
Well, but it's you know unfortunately the salary cap for the NHL. I'm sure a lot of the other sports will deal with this as well, but their projected salary cap was supposed to go up 6-7 mil. That was the rumors before the COVID happened, but then now, with COVID happening, like they flattened out the cap. So like not only is it not going up, but it's probably not going to get to that number for a good amount of years from now. So
oh wow,
yeah,
just a lot of tight maneuvers.
And I think that led to a lot of teams making moves before the COVID came out, and then they were hamstrung at that point. I don't like Chris Kreider. I don't think Chris Kreider re-signs with the Rangers for the amount that he did if they knew that it was going to be a flattened cap.
You know what's so funny?
Like
I've heard a lot of people refer it to as the COVID. Like the people saying, "Yo, listen, man, when that COVID hit, when the COVID hit, it's just like it sounds like an M. Night Shyamalan movie."
Actually,
I just picture a mist, and everybody's just like, "Put your mask on." You know, like I'm just so over this shit. Like, give me a stadium, give me a bar so I can watch a game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I like to call it the Cove.
The Cove,
yeah.
the bid.
I don't think that think that one's catching on.
You got that bid?
Totally. All right, so that is our show for this week. Thank you very much, Dennis Herrera, for stopping by. LDM Radio Sports Talk. We'll see you next week. Thanks so much.
LDM Radio.